Hi. Hello everybody. Happy New Year. I can't believe it's 2018 already, but with the new year, a lot of hikers now are starting or have already started their big countdowns to their long distance hikes, or if you even have a big hiking trip coming up this spring, now's the time when, all that last minute fear and anxiety sets in of, do I have everything I need? Did I make the right decision with this gear? Am I crazy for trying to do this? Is it really safe to go alone? Should I do it? Should I, I can still back out. All these kinds of just crazy thoughts are running through our heads. And I just want to let you know and pop in to talk a little bit about how safe is it to try to hike alone on a long distance hike, for example, like on the Appalachian Trail. I did this in 2013. I actually headed out by myself, much to my mother's chagrin, to hike the Appalachian Trail. And I was terrified, definitely more excited, but that just last minute, like the day of, actually getting to the trail, I was really afraid. And, I didn't know what to expect really, even though I had been on shorter backpacking trips before. And honestly, though, it was fine. Like, that just anxiety leading up to it was the worst fear that I faced during my whole hike. And I just wanted to point out a lot of people kind of think or assume that, oh, backpacking alone is dangerous or hiking the Appalachian Trail alone is dangerous, but it's really just as safe or just as dangerous, whichever way you want to look at it, as, driving alone or walking around your town alone. And, a lot of people do these things and they don't even think anything of it. I mean, plenty of people live alone, live on their own, and that's considered a success. And yet, when they go to hike alone or backpack alone or travel alone, then it's, oh, that's dangerous. But you really just have to take it one day at a time, and it really doesn't have to be as dangerous as people think. And so I'm going to share some tips today to just help you manage that risk a little bit, because there is some risk there. Obviously, there are some dangers in backpacking, both environmental and with wildlife, and a little bit of stranger danger there. But it's definitely not as bad as the media and our imaginations would have us think. So just know that. That's the first tip, is to know that it really is just as safe as driving alone or traveling anywhere else alone. And then your next best defense is your own common sense and knowing your own limits and your own skills. So you need to know what you're capable of, and don't try to do something crazy on the trail by yourself, if you know, or for example, even out here in Colorado, we have the 14ers, the mountains over 14,000 feet, and, some people, you gotta build up to that, you gotta train for it. Not everyone is just, physically capable and ready to do that right out of the gate, and you have to know if you're not ready for that, then don't try it yet, train for it and build up for it. So the same on the trail, start slow, know your limits, know how many miles you can do in a day, look at your elevation gains, and if you have some big climbs one day, maybe you do shorter miles that day, or make sure you start super early and plan lots of breaks so that you don't burn yourself out and get yourself in a tricky situation, kind of on the top of a mountain somewhere. And make sure that you have a plan, at least a rough plan of where you'll be camping and when you're starting hiking and when your trip will be over, or maybe your 0 days for a long distance hike. And make sure someone else knows that plan. Make sure somebody else back home knows your route and knows what you're up to, just in case, the worst happens. Then they at least know where to start looking for you, where to start checking in, and they can even start asking other hikers and maybe small businesses along the way, if you've been there. A lot of long distance hiking communities are really tight. People keep an eye on each other, and even small business owners, may know or recognize, oh yeah, they came through, or no, they didn't come through yet. So make sure someone else knows your plan and knows how to at least roughly kind of check in with you and find you if something happens. And then to make sure you check in with them, and say that you're doing okay every once in a while, and make sure that they know what to expect. You're probably not going to call them every day, and make sure that they don't panic if you don't call them, but, maybe call once a week, and then if they don't hear from you, maybe if it's been 8, 9 days, then they can start kind of, doing a little research, trying to get in touch with you. And then a lot of people say, carry your fears. I don't know if you've ever heard of that term, but they say it in almost a bad way, but I actually think that if you're hiking alone, you should carry your fears, carry what will make you feel better on the trail. If that gives you a little bit of peace of mind and just helps you sleep better at night, I think you should put on that little extra weight of, if you want to carry mace, if that will make you feel better, do it. If you want to carry extra food because you're scared of running out of food, do it. I know a lot of people, like I said, kind of frown on that, but if it'll make you feel better, do it at least for the first week and then see how you feel after that. Another tip is don't camp near roads, especially on long distance hikes. Unfortunately, that is where the most vandalism and theft happens. So just be aware of that. If I'm solo hiking, I always try to hike at least 4 or 5 miles in, usually knowing that just the general people going out for just one night, or maybe they want to go out and have a beer in the woods, they're probably not going to hike that far in, so I try to avoid them. And then don't share your exact camping plans with other random hikers that you don't trust. A lot of people will find a trail family and try to camp out with them, so obviously you'll be making plans and sharing your plans with, people if you make good friends with, but sometimes hikers will try to make small talk. Someone you might not know very well will ask, oh, where are you headed to tonight? Oh, how far are you hiking today? And if you don't know them well, just try to give a vague answer. Don't ever just say, oh, I'm headed to such and such shelter, because, then they know and they may follow you there, which wouldn't be good. So my last tip for solo hikers, just to be a little safer on the trail, is if you're hitchhiking, so like out on a long distance hike, then make sure that you always try to hitchhike with a buddy. I have only ever hitchhiked once by myself, and it did turn out well, which was awesome and lucky. Depending on the area, you can kind of size it up, see if it's a sketchy area, maybe don't try to hitchhike, or if you're with a buddy, then maybe that's fine. Also, feel free to pass up rides. Sometimes, if someone pulls over and they really give you the creeps, you can say no. Say, oh, just kidding, I was waiting for a friend, or oh, I thought you were so-and-so. Pass it up, and don't hitchhike with people who you get bad vibes from. And then also another issue that comes up sometimes with hitchhiking, it's pretty rare, but if you put your bag in someone's trunk, there have been stories of, people will drive off with your stuff, after you get out of the car and such. So I always try to keep my bag with me, keep all my gear with me, just so that I know I have it and, I'm not going to get separated with it. So those are just a few tips for now for hiking solo. And if you want more hiking and backpacking tips, definitely check out the blog at youradventurecoach.com, and I will see you there.